What if the Book of Enoch was never meant to be found? What if the reason it was banned wasn't because it was false, but because it was too true? And what if the Enoch you think you know isn't the one history tried to erase? Genesis names two men called Enoch. One walked with God and vanished. The other was born from blood, exile, and curse. One ascended, the other was buried. This is not the story you were taught in church. This is not the Enoch quoted in Sunday sermons. This is the other Enoch, the son of Cain, the first city builder, the first heir of rebellion, the man whose writings whispered of angels, watchers, forbidden knowledge, and a world God would later drown. And according to ancient tradition, his knowledge was too dangerous to survive intact. This is the story of the Enoch the church does not talk about. The Enoch whose book was hidden, fragmented, and banned. The Enoch who stood at the crossroads between heaven and a corrupted earth. Welcome to History of the Unknown. Tonight, we open a sealed scroll. If you're into history, please subscribe to this channel and tell me in the comments section what time and country you're watching from. Genesis 4:17 tells us something quietly explosive. Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bore Enoch. And he built a city and called the name of the city after the name of his son, Enoch. This is the first Enoch mentioned in the Bible, before the righteous Enoch of Seth, before the man who walked with God, before the one taken alive into heaven. This Enoch is born from Cain, the first murderer, the first exile, the first man cursed by God. And immediately, something strange happens. Cain does what no one else had done before. He builds a city. A city implies population organization, technology, memory, continuity. This is not a primitive world. This is civilization rising in the shadow of a curse. And Cain names that city after his son, Enoch, meaning dedicated, initiated, trained. This Enoch was not innocent. He was not wandering with sheep. He was raised at the center of humanity's first structured society. And somewhere along the line, his story disappears. Cain's descendants are not presented as holy, but they are presented as brilliant. Genesis lists them carefully. Jabal, the father of those who dwell in tents and raise livestock. Jubal, the father of all who play the lyre and flute. Tubal-Cain, the forger of bronze and iron. Music, metalworking, agriculture, urban planning. This is not degeneration. This is acceleration. The line of Cain did not fade into barbarism. They advanced. And at the center of that advancement stands Enoch, the son whose name marked the first city. Ancient Jewish traditions outside the Bible suggest that Enoch was not merely a city's namesake, but its architect, a keeper of records, a scribe, a teacher. And here is where the forbidden whisper begins. Some early apocryphal traditions claim that knowledge passed to Cain's line was not entirely human, that after the exile from Eden, beings who once walked openly with man no longer obeyed their boundaries, and Enoch listened. The Book of Enoch, banned, fragmented, preserved only in pieces, speaks extensively of beings called the Watchers, angels appointed to observe the earth, to guide, to guard, to report. But something went wrong. They descended. They taught men metallurgy, weapon crafting, astrology, enchantments, cosmic cycles, secrets of heaven. The Book of Enoch describes this as the first great transgression. But here's the detail rarely discussed. The earliest layers of Enochic tradition do not clearly identify which Enoch wrote them. Later, religious institutions assumed it was the Sethite Enoch, the righteous one. But older, more obscure traditions point elsewhere, to the city, to Cain's bloodline, to the Enoch who lived inside civilization, not apart from it? What if the Book of Enoch isn't the testimony of a man taken to heaven, but the confession of a man who learned too much on earth?
The Book of Enoch gives the most detailed account of the Nephilim ever recorded. Giants, hybrids, beings born from watchers and women, but there's a subtle implication most miss. These beings did not appear randomly. They rose in centers of civilization, cities, strongholds, places of knowledge, places like the city of Enoch. If Cain's descendants were the first metallurgists, if they were the first weaponsmiths, if they were the first city builders, then they were also the first to interact with the forbidden. Enoch may not have created the Nephilim, but he lived among their influence, and according to some traditions, he recorded their rise not as praise, but as warning. The Book of Enoch does something no other biblical adjacent text dares to do. It names names. It lists fallen angels, describes their crimes, explains how heaven operates, details cosmic laws, outlines divine judgment before the flood, and most dangerously, it reframes evil, not as human weakness, but as systemic corruption introduced by celestial beings. This narrative undermines a simple theology. It says humanity was not merely sinful, humanity was infected. The early church wrestled with this. Church fathers debated, is Enoch scripture? Is it dangerous? Does it reveal too much? By the 4th century, the decision was made. The Book of Enoch was excluded, declared non-canonical, gradually erased from Western theology, not because it contradicted the Bible, but because it expanded it too far. And yet, the New Testament quotes it directly. Jude 1:14, Enoch, the 7th from Adam, prophesied. So why quote a book deemed unworthy, unless the problem was never accuracy, but control? Now here is the twist. The Bible tells us another Enoch walked with God, the son of Jared, the 7th from Adam. He is taken alive. What if this Enoch was chosen because of what the first Enoch recorded? What if one Enoch documented the fall, and the other was chosen to escape it? One Enoch watched angels fall, the other watched heaven open. One lived in the city, the other walked apart from it. One's knowledge was buried, the other's body was taken. 2 witnesses, 2 outcomes. But the reason the Book of Enoch unsettles modern theology is simple. It tells us evil is organized, rebellion is ancient. Humanity was not the first domino. Heaven has laws. Angels can fall. Knowledge can corrupt. And history has been edited. The story of Enoch, the son of Cain, is not about glorifying darkness. It is about understanding it. Because you cannot fight a war you don't know exists. If you love this story, please like, share, and subscribe.